I'd like to call to order this March 20th Canal Winchester School Board meeting to order. Nick, would you please call roll?
Ms. Barnes?
Present.
Mr. Butler?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Kruger?
Present.
Ms. Talley?
Here.
All right, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda that was printed and distributed?
We do not.
Okay. I'm gonna need a motion to approve the agenda.
So move. Second.
Mr. Butler and Ms. Barnes. Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Kruger?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
All right, motion goes 5-0. First on the agenda is presentations. And Canal Winchester Middle School is here to present.
Well,
Doing the PowerPoint or the video?
PowerPoint first.
There you go. Skipping
Oh.
himself.
There you go.
I'll figure it out one of these years.
Good evening, everyone. I want to introduce Kelly Cronk and Jay Battle, who work in our building. And Jay came to me back in this fall to put together an after-school program for students to try to help them with just growing up as middle school students. And so the students got together, came up with a name, which is Students Making a Change. So I'm going to let Jay and Kelly talk a little bit more about their program.
Do I speak to y'all?
Yeah, if you speak to the board, just through the microphone, because we do have,
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Live stream.
Well, first off, I appreciate y'all having me here tonight. Big honor getting here to present this in front of everybody, all the important people in our district, so I don't take this lightly. As Mr. Moore had mentioned earlier, in a couple seconds ago, I came to him with an idea at first. It was a hope, it was a dream, it was kind of a small conversation between me and the buddies over the summer, and just trying to be a better leader for what I call the babies. I'll reference throughout my speech, so I know it's not the most professional term, but that's kind of like my term that comes from my heart. And so when I was speaking with Mr. Moore through the fall, he had an energy to him where he felt like it could really get done, and so that kind of instilled a ton of motivation within myself, and then myself and Ms. Cronk became really, really close throughout the school year. And so it started with a conversation, went to a second conversation, and then by the third conversation, it was myself, these two, Ms. Friend, and we all kind of just sat in the conference room and kind of put our minds together, and we came up with SMAC. Students Making a Change. It's not a legitimate smack. All the kids in school go smack, and they hear it, and they have an opportunity to act a fool, but it's quite opposite of that. And so we'll go a quick little introduction of what Students Making a Change is all about.
Working, right elbow? There you go.
There it is. So our inspiration. Whether we want to agree or not, no matter what we agree upon, normal is changing. Even what I was in high school and through college, and what is normal to be cool, what is normal to fit in, what is normal to talk about, what is normal to express is absolutely changing. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us in our situations and our positions right now are experiencing a lot of disruption and maybe dangerous behavior in what is normal, but myself and Ms. Cronk are always committed to bringing healthy normal. And segue into the second point. Wanted to make a leader in being healthy, being cool again. I know that's a big topic within this middle school age of what's cool, what we need to do to fit in, what we need to do to get validation from our peers. And so myself and Ms. Cronk's belief is a lot of things that we'll get to as the presentation continues forward. But segueing into our last point, we want kids to advocate for themselves. We want kids to teach themselves. We want kids to teach each other. And most importantly, we want kids to believe and be confident within themselves. And so I found an anonymous quote that I found reading one day, and it came about saying, "No better teacher than self, and the second best teacher is a respected peer." And I thought they hit my heart right on this point, especially what I'm trying to do, and not be the person that gets the credit for being a good teacher, but being a person within that circle of kids that motivates them to be the best version of themselves. And then a typical day with SMAC. We have a lot of things on the left, so I'll go down the left-hand side. We always write. Ms. Cronk, shout out her and the importance of our name games. We always do a thing we call decompressing. We always take our group walks and play group games to have a physical proponent to it. And then our last two things I think are some of our biggest things is breathing and then snacks. From top to bottom, when we write letters. We do letters to self. We do letters to loved ones. We do letters to people that in our lives that have brought a lot of good energy to us or taught us a lot of good lessons. The next thing is sticky notes of encouragement. We did an activity where all 30 of, not 30 of us, but about 20 of us was that group where we wrote a positive message or a positive quote, and we literally just smacked it on a locker, smacked it on the bathroom stall. And those small things, whether a kid or the whole entire school notice it, as long as one person, our motto is, as long as one person is affected by it in a positive way, it's worth something, you know? And so, and then self-expression. I don't think there's a better way to express yourself other than writing it out, especially now where I think verbal communication is kind of dwindling. I think the level one of verbal communication is writing it and then having the confidence to speak it in later form. So that is huge for us in terms of writing. Along with our name games, this is exactly what it sounds like. Ms. Cronk has a wonderful, wonderful imagination in getting these kids to come together and have the funnest of times of learning each other's names. That is so important today, especially with the identity movement that we're not on, but I seem to be taken more seriously, I would say, and calling kids by what they want to be called and identifying kids by what they want to be identified, I think is the easiest form of respect. And decompressing is exactly what it sounds like. It's a social time, it's a check-in, it's no phones, no Chromebooks. I'm not old school in nature, but I feel like that is old school in itself, and just, let's just talk to each other. Let's learn about each other. Let's ask each other legitimate questions and not, how was your day? But what was the best period for you? What was the worst period for you? And sort of finding those habits and those patterns within the kids. And then the group walks and games are some of my funnest times. We usually do trivia. We walk around the school for a lap. I ask them trivia on the 7 seas of the globe, all the continents of the globe, all the capitals of the states and stuff like that, and the kids eat it up and they have fun with that. And then our biggest thing, I gotta give her flowers while she's standing here. Shout out Ms. Cronk for introducing our breathing techniques we have. She brings in a Tibetan bell. She gets the Om going. There is no political agenda, no personal agenda, no religion tied to it. Breathing is a human practice. If we breathe more, we breathe better, we feel more, you know, and so that is so important to the kids and they love it. And then last but not least, who doesn't love snacks? I try to keep it as healthy as possible. And there's a joke at the middle school where if they see me eating any kind of sugar, it's like the end of the world because they know I try my best to promote that. But sometimes they get a sugary snack, but more than likely it's usually fruits or veggies. And so we just try to keep the healthy components in it at all times.
With our decompressing and our breathing, we sit in the silence. So we started with 2 minutes, and I talked about how each time I kind of review. This might be new for you. I think I've shared with Mr. Battle a lot, but like my dad once said, if he's in silence for 2 minutes, if he had 2 minutes of silence, he would like explode, like he just doesn't know what to do with himself. So I feel like we're planting seeds of calmness and centeredness, and so we practice sitting in the silence each time that we meet, and we spend 2 hours together twice a month, about every other week, every 2 weeks, and we spend our 2 hour time together being authentic, enjoying each other's company, and also talking about relationship building, character building. We talk about trust, identity. The name games, I always think, do we really need to do this? And we do it each time, and even in a group of 7, there'll be somebody who looks over and they're just like, I don't know your name. So we go to a really big school. And so we're always learning each other's names and taking each other seriously, and also enabling each other to laugh and be ourselves. And so our leadership comes from within, and we all have access to character. Also to include that our group is not for the kids who are the honor students and totally successful, and it's not for the kids who are struggling every day, and on the behavior list, we're mixing all those kids together, and we model for one another. And the kids who struggle in some areas are wonderful models of life in other areas that the successful kids are challenged with. So it's a really beautiful space to be in, and I appreciate Mr. Battle letting me be a part of his vision this year. It's been really exciting, so I'll just carry on.
Appreciate it. And so our goals are pretty simple. We want to find legitimate practices to decompress and manage those what we call flight or fight chemicals going through the body. Even as a young adult, I'm still finding young boy tendencies in my day-to-day where I need to either calm down or heighten up the skill that needs demanded. And so living that and growing with them in that is super humbling in my experience. And seeing them feed off of myself and Ms. Cronk is also another humbling experience. And then segueing into our second point, making calculated adjustments in a timely manner. That timely is bold and underlined for a reason. I think in school we're kind of getting comfortable, us meaning the students and maybe even sometimes teachers as well, kind of like letting time pass or letting that period go a little longer or letting that conversation maybe be too short. And so we are very, very focused on making the right decision or having the apology the day after or taking the ownership right away. And that's a segue into my third point, which I've been so excited to sort of talk to you all about in person, is creating what I call ATOs. Addicted to ownership is what an ATO stands for. It's a mindset and a lifestyle. It is flexible. It is for anybody. It's for any sport, any kind of profession. If you are addicted to owning each and everything you put into this world or each and everything that comes into you, I don't promise success, but I can guarantee a ton of success if you take ownership of all your actions in every step. And so to fully commit to that is huge for myself and Ms. Cronk as well. And so to have that shared mindset and to give the kids access to it and not force it, but to allow them to see the success in it, and then they take it and do their own thing with it is super cool to be around. And then finally, just gaining skills, the big buzzwords, empathy, consistency, honesty. I don't think there's enough of that in this world, to be personal, but here at CWMS, led by my man right here to the left of me, he does a wonderful job of keeping that in-house and that being our brand as a group of people. And so.
Add to that, we talk about things like empathy, honesty, trust. We want our students to have a sense of the complexity of it as middle schoolers, so we don't have an agenda. We're not saying you need to think about trust, and we're saying trust is important. And then what does that involve? We can have too much trust, not enough trust, trusting others, trusting ourselves. We bring it all up and we talk about it. And Mr. Battle is really good at keeping things real. When he asks them, personal questions, there's a lot of open-ended questions, a lot of honest discussion. And if they're kind of being flat, he's like, don't tell me that you are defined by your grades or by your athleticism. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you as a person and your relationships and how hard life is and how great life is and all those things. So we keep it real during this time too.
And if you can move to the last slide. And so our why is not very simple, but simple to us. It's about acknowledging and growing the leader within every student. And each student owns their life and leads their life, and we respect and try to garner all the bravery and the courageousness it takes to not only join our group, but then to come in our group and be an active participant. I think a lot of after-school programs, or just programs in general, there are a lot of bystanders is what I call. They just join to be part of the name, and well, that's not an issue. I think that can become an issue if that becomes a norm, And so I just want kids to understand they have every right and every possibility to bring whatever change, bring whatever future they want for themselves. And so shout out Kaya Hunt, shout out Brian Moore, shout out Natalie Friend and all the admin for hiring me, for allowing me a space to do what I feel like my heart feels is best at when doing it. And shout out Ms. Cronk for being my support through all of that. So.
I think I'd speak for the students too in saying when we come out of our SMAC meetings, we all feel so very much alive. Just very happy to be a part of it all, and it's very exciting.
You want to show the video?
Oh, and this is a wonderful video put together by Heather Bogus, our librarian.
It stands for Students Making a Change.
Students making a change.
We came together for the first couple of weeks, and the student and Mr. Battle creating the name.
We all came together as a group. We started doing it for a few weeks, and then it just got its name by a matter of time.
We eat snacks, and then we play a name game, and then we meditate, and then we play a game in the gym at the end and pick up trash.
We'll eat food. Once Mrs. Clunch and Mr. Battle get in the room, we'll do a name game, make it a little more competitive, and then we'll decompress and do a game. Decompressing. Basically, it's like giving a moment, like a couple minutes to just like think about something and like letting the weight off your shoulders.
What I like most about SMAC is that like it's not just for a few people, it's for everybody. Everybody can come, they can just enjoy their time there, they can understand how home is, they can understand how life is. You can enjoy, you can talk, you can eat. They have really good snacks over there.
What I like most about SMAC is I can speak how I really feel.
It's just helping me have some self-confidence and know how to do stuff independently. And it teaches me how everyone can make a change.
To let things go. I've connected with my family a lot more.
I stick up for people, and I'm a leader, and I don't follow people and do what other people say.
Going with what she said, really, and not follow, so that I get my work done on time, and I have something to look forward to at the end of the week.
And then something I learned is how to speak my truth and speak how I actually feel about some things.
So for me, this is my first day and it already impacted me a lot. So for school, I think that it impacted me by like getting to know different views of different people. For Cameron, I never really knew that like he was this energetic, funny. He has really great humor. Gonna be great, generous. We had a great debate, so I'm actually gonna be way nice. So, and I'm gonna get to know people better based on my experience from SMAC. I'm gonna say what Idris said. I'm gonna piggyback on what he said. So it's like I'm gonna benefit like at school, like the people I see here, like I now know them, so I can like say what's up to them in the hallway, or also like I can trust them. I can trust them. Like today we talked about trust, so I can like limit that trust, and we can just build on that. So it's like I can benefit to making friendships from this.
I really recommend it if you want to have some self-confidence.
If you if you just want to chill out, give a moment to yourself, go to SMAC. It's a great opportunity to get to know people who you never talk to. You only see in the hallways, just walk past them, and you can actually get to interacting. I would tell people to definitely join. It's a way to definitely meet new people, and at the same time you get to meet the adults and how they feel. You get to actually interact with people you never knew, or you knew them, you just don't know a lot about them.
Thank you.
So I can't thank Mr. Battle and Mrs. Cronk enough for the program that they put together. And again, this is just getting off the ground. There's going to be a lot more as we plan throughout the rest of this year and then also into next year to expand this program to meet the needs of all of our students. So I want to thank those guys and thank the board for our presentation.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
I know we got some questions.
Questions?
Comments, go ahead.
But I was just curious. It sounds like it's really having an impact. When do you get a chance to actually meet with the kids? Is it like an after-school thing, or is it during the day?
Correct. Right after school. So I have parent pickup duty till about 1:45, and then the students report to my room right at 1:45,
Okay.
and then we go till 3:45.
Okay, awesome.
Are there kids that want to come but don't have a way to get home after school?
That's a great question. We absolutely have ran into that issue, and that would probably be the big goal for next year in having zero transportation issues. Luckily, though, we have had kids' ability to carpool and have kids come and have parents pick up later than normal. So very little issues, but I will be honest and say we have ran into those issues.
I just wanted to make a comment that I love the way this program fits into Canal Winchester's Portrait of a Graduate, several components of that, and how it gives the students much confidence.
Absolutely.
It promotes positivity, a great energy,
Sure.
and I just really appreciate what you all are doing, and it adds that extra value to our district. So thank you for your contribution.
They seem to be having a lot of fun.
Absolutely. The twirl, and that was our name game. Yeah, go ahead.
That name game was you do an action for each syllable in your name. So mine was Ms. Kronk, and then the whole group says Ms. Kronk, and then we do the next one, and the next one. So by the end, they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And we're like, "We're doing it!" And then before you know it, everybody's letting their hair down, and that was Zoe's. Zoe's was the spinning and the she ended with one of these, so everybody really got into it really fast. So
I do have one.
Remember names.
I do have one more question. I know Mr. Moore talked about expanding the program in the future. Currently, if I heard it correctly, it's 2 hours twice a month, and it's every other week.
Yes, ma'am.
So in your thoughts of expanding, are you thinking about maybe making or having that occur more frequently instead of just twice a month, or is that part of the plans, or maybe just you're looking to add more students?
Right. Well, definitely adding more students. Mr. Battle and I also talked about having like a field day type of experience and bringing in outside vendors and people that he knows, and just create more of a daily experience where we can make it all for our building. So that's the biggest one that
Okay.
challenge that we're going to look into for next spring, because I think the planning has to start now for that, because that's going to be a pretty big endeavor.
Kind of
with
like a culminating.
900 students to manage and rotate through on the building grounds. So, but that's an idea that he had, and we're going to work through that process next.
So how many students do you have coming on a normal basis?
On a normal basis, we range from anywhere from 10 to 15. I would say as of late, with the transition from winter to spring sports and kids figuring out whether they want to play or they quit, we have a lot of kids that want to come and then, oh, I have practice, Mr. Battle, or they want to come and, oh, I forgot to tell my parents. So we have a wonderful motto. It doesn't matter the amount as long as the quality's solid. And so we've had groups as small as just us two and 3 other students, and it's very personal, very one-on-one, a ton of time to sort of get to know the kids on a personal level outside of school. And so, and then my last comment, my goal outside of that would be to sort of create a committee by myself and Ms. Kronk, and then maybe cross the district boundaries. Maybe have a person at elementary able to do it for a small group, and then a person at the high school able to do it as well. And so those are all thoughts within my head, but as we get going, I definitely will bring that to fruition.
Yeah, some good issues you're gonna have is when more kids find out about it, it's gonna get bigger groups, then you might lose a little bit of the intimacy and the trust of it, so you gotta figure out how to do that, and then have different, it sounds like it should be a class, to incorporate that into, an every day for these kids, because just a handful of them we're talking about, I mean, that's life. I mean, and you're equipping them with coping mechanisms and, the decompression and get things off your shoulders and just kind of be a kid again. I mean, I could see this snowballing into a larger project, especially with you guys behind it. I mean, it's wonderful.
In our conversations, we did connect it with Portrait of a Graduate, and also we're a leader in me school at the middle school.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we talk about that and how, you know, what we talk about meshes with that too, and it's from that too.
Just keep going with it, man. This is nice. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next meeting will be March 30th.
Okay, awesome, thank you,
Yep.
appreciate you coming. Yep.
They're making you look good, Mr. Moore. That's good stuff.
He says thank you.
CWEA. See some representatives out there? One.
You see two. She's sending her up by herself.
She's failing.
She was like, nope. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Renee Hamilton, CWEA Building Rep for the high school. We wanted to just share a few things that we have been going on this past month. Every year, the CWEA gives out a scholarship to an education major, so a senior who is interested in going into the education field. We raised nearly $1,000 in our most recent fundraiser and currently taking applications for those seniors. At Indian Trail, Mr. Schmitz wanted to share that on behalf of the American Heart Association, he wanted to thank the community for raising $2,471.73 with the recent, it's called Kids Heart Challenge, American Heart Challenge program. Families and schools are critical links in providing foundation for cardiovascular wellness in our country. Your support and participation in the Kids Heart Challenge makes a tremendous impact in helping millions of Americans through increased awareness of cardiovascular disease, life-saving scientific research, and critically needed education efforts. We also have in the high school, Mr. Furness had the Wind Ensemble on March 4th, performed at the OMEA large group adjudication at Tays Valley High School. It's very similar to what the marching band does, but this is just specifically for the Wind Ensemble. And their students worked very hard the past couple of months on the music and beyond, and they received a superior rating. It had a panel of 4 judges, and it was the highest rating possible. We have our high school Spanish teacher, Pilar Frey, middle school Spanish teacher, Andrea Lindstedt, and high school French teacher, Julie Aldridge, attended the Central States World Language Teacher Conference in Columbus on March 10th and 11th. And they learned strategies for incorporating comprehensible input and cultural diversity and inclusion lessons into their classroom. So those are just a few things that we wanted to share this month.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Unless it's somewhere on the agenda, we had the career fair too at the high school.
Yes, yes.
I thought it was it went really well. I was one of the vendors that was there, and can't thank Kristen enough. I mean, we get
she does a
so
great
many
job.
compliments for that career fair and how well it goes over, how organized it is, and the students really seem to love it, and it gives them a lot of exposure to various different employers that are looking to hire and give the kids a lot of opportunities to look at different things that they might be interested in. You said something about the seniors education scholarship, and that you're accepting scholarships. What's the deadline for having those in?
I am not on that scholarship committee. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they just turn it in at school, or is that?
Yeah, we
okay.
have on School Links, we have all of the scholarship applications available through the school.
Okay.
And then also outside the guidance counselor's office.
Okay.
So that goes to a CW student that applies, and they do have to turn in their grades at the end of the first semester. It's a one-time scholarship, so for those going into the education field.
Last year we gave, I think it was just one scholarship, and the amount was around 2,000, I think. It was a pretty big chunk last year because one person applied. So we raised quite a bit of money last year.
Which is why I asked. I never had heard of this scholarship, and I've been in the district for a long time, so
It's
I was
shared.
just wondering how they find out about it and
It's
when's the
shared just
deadline?
like every other scholarship.
Okay.
On the announcements. We have in the monthly, weekly communications.
It's a nice opportunity. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have any public voice?
We do not.
Okay. So that brings us into executive reports, and we're gonna start with the treasurer's report. Mr. Roberts.
Good evening. I'll be your public voice tonight.
Colors look more Christmassy.
So, monthly financials, I want to start by kind of talking about something that happened in the news recently with the Silicon Valley bank thing. A lot of people panicked. In our world, they panicked. We invest a lot of money. We just, with meter investments, most of our investments, or most of the people that invest didn't have any money tied up in the Silicon Valley. Unfortunately, STRS did. SERS did. I want to say STRS had about almost 40 million that they're probably going to lose. SERS has about $5 million in Silicon Valley that they're going to lose because they're only covering what was deposited and not invested, is my understanding. We did not have any money invested in Silicon Valley, so we are safe. And I don't think it's like a precursor because it's the largest since 2008, largest bank crash, 2009, 10. We had the recession and things started happening. I don't think that's what this is triggering. No one knows for sure, but I think it's more of a perfect storm that happened against that bank. And social media kind of made that thing kind of take off to where withdrawals happened at an alarming rate, causing, like I said, the perfect storm, to where they just didn't have enough assets on the balance sheet to cover all of the withdrawals all at one time. So they are expecting, probably, it was the second bank in the last couple of weeks, they are expecting a bank or two in the next couple of weeks from my understanding. Again, we don't have anything in some of those. So from an investment standpoint, the district's money's safe. We are limited to a certain extent on what we can do, but those are some things that we can do. But we typically will invest in larger companies, known companies. So from an investment sheet, balance sheet standpoint, we are good, thankfully, because that would not have been good. So just wanted to address that. Like I said, it's not a precursor of recession or anything like that. I think it was just a perfect storm. So we are still trending financially to hit the 31.7 million. Kind of want to focus on, with the levy coming up, discussing about the cash balance and our goals in the district, strategically planning on what we do. My goal as a treasurer in this district has always been to operate a break-even budget, operating budget. This is my 12th year as a treasurer. I've always operated a balanced budget, and every year that we've been, it's been tough at times. So when I say operating budget, it does not include like the capital one-time transfers, because that's not an operating budget, so it's a one-time thing. We operate within revenues over expenditures from the standpoint. And this year we will have a balanced budget, so if you eliminate the $17 million, then we're operating in the clear, but that $17 million is obviously being set aside for capital improvements, being set aside to do the 30,000 square foot addition to Indian Trail to provide full-day kindergarten, which I think is a big deal for this district. That will bring additional operating expenses, will bring its own challenges that we're going to have to address over the next 12 months as far as transportation and more kids in that building. So it does present a lot of challenges to the district, but I think it presents a very nice opportunity for the parents that are coming into kindergarten. We lose, like I said, have multiple times, we lose about 70 kids that come back from K to 1. So on average, that's a lot of kids that we're going to hopefully start seeing earlier and we can start our education process sooner. This month we're receiving property taxes in Fairfield County. If you remember, that was an update year. So we did receive those already in March. We're waiting Franklin County, but the Fairfield County taxes did increase, but those were increased as expected to the forecast. So over the coming months, May will be an update to the forecast. We will obviously look to different things with losing ESSER money and adding additional staff. Those things was all in the forecast for November. We will continue to look at those things, update those to make sure we're having operating balance through the entire 5-year forecast period. Year over year, it's kind of hard to really tell what's happening because we received advances. And this year, we haven't received advances, so it looks like we're down. For the most part, income tax is the only kind of driving factor that we can look at on the revenue side of year over year at this point, along with all other revenues. Interest did take a little bit of a dip right before we had invested the $14 million bond proceeds. We got it at about 5.15%. When the Silicon Valley thing happened, it immediately dropped to around 4%, but we're expecting those to rise. It pretty much dropped 1% overnight. So it was great timing on our part. It wasn't anything that we did professionally that was good. It was just
You take credit for it.
Perfectly. So the money came, we invested as quick as we could to take advantage of the rate. So, but 4% is still great. Still a great interest environment. Speaking of interest, we're probably going to crack that $1 million mark for the first time this year. We're 797 with 4 months remaining. So investments are very good. We're going to get a little bit more aggressive. This month, we're going to invest $14 million more once the property taxes come in to start locking in some long-term rates. Because at this point, we've got money maturing every month. So if we run into a cash flow problem, then at that point, we can pull out cash for the flow in the months. But that's pretty much it for the general fund, unless you guys have specific questions. Health insurance is trending as expected. The first of the month has been much better on claims since we reset the year. We had a very good insurance committee meeting last week. It was about a 2-hour and 15-minute meeting talking about plan design change. We had about 15 people as a part of the discussion. It was very engaging. A lot of people were engaged in the conversation, at least willing to look at it, because when something does happen, it's going to be a group decision. It's going to be something that we all kind of have to decide which direction we go. As I told them, we don't have a crystal ball. I mean, so you can't really predict the future. All we can kind of do is take what we know and pick the best plan that we think is for the district for the future. So those things will come.
When are decisions going to be made on that?
We've got, I mean, the quickest we could do anything anyway is January 1 of 2025.
Oh, 5, okay.
We've got
So you're waiting.
collective bargaining agreements to negotiate, probably starting next February, March. But we want to at least have things with the committee in alignment for discussions with the collective bargaining process. Maybe we make a change January 1, 2025. Maybe we decide it needs to be a little bit later. So it's a lot of work, but we figure we got about 18 months to kind of run through the process. We're bringing Medical Mutual in to educate the committee first on like a high deductible PPO plan change, and then we're bringing another company in to educate on that. So we're going to bring a lot of people in to educate and give options, as many options as we possibly can.
Yeah. And you're doing enough ahead of time to let it all sink in and make a good decision, so.
We do. We spend a lot of time on the insurance, health insurance side of things, because it's a big expenditure it's a big line item expenditure. This year we're putting $7.5 million into the health insurance fund. Of that is $1.5 million as employees and $6 million as the board. So it's a very hefty line item expenditure. So we've got to make sure we maintain that, because if we don't maintain it right, it's just going to cost the board more. It's going to cost the employees more. So.
And then Nick, what's our I know we call it the bodies, but what's our number of employees that actually are on the plan? Because I know that number, has it been pretty static or has it been growing?
It's been growing. We were up almost 100 over the last 6 years. We've got about 390 members. But the other big piece of that is the lives on the plan. So we're up almost 300 lives over that same period.
And those are just like children, other dependents, things like that? Okay, gotcha. So obviously doing something, making some changes will help us out in the long term if we're continuing to grow, obviously. Well, depending on what happens. So we'll see. Okay.
There's a lot of factors to it. I mean, we have around 130 employees that opt out of insurance. So is it the plan we offer is not affordable for those 130, or do they have better options? So really weighing some of those things on why people are opting out. That's really a lot of employees that opt out of insurance. So coming up with a plan, doing surveys, different things of asking why are you not taking insurance? Are you under your parents' insurance for a while? Sometimes that happens. I have a spouse, but I'd probably guess the biggest factor is affordability at this point. Our plan costs $7,500 a year on a family plan, and that's regardless if you go to the doctor one time or not.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, how much of the current plan versus thoughts regarding a future plan would include incentivizing like health, wellness activities, having that incorporated into the health plan? Are you doing some of that kind of stuff now with the current health plan? And do you think you're going to expand like those options?
We are not. I know HR is putting together and getting more of a wellness plan together, but as far as incentivizing on rates and premiums and things like that, gets challenging in the public sector, just from a administration standpoint. But we are going to look to do different things with a health clinic as far as getting people to kind of do their preventive screenings, whether we provide something for doing that. I think we're still deciding on that.
Because I think, in Franklin County, it works pretty well. Their Thrive On program, it is incentivized, like for you to do your preventative checks, fill out questionnaires, participate in various activities, eating healthy, attending seminars, even financial wellness. Like all of that is encompassed in the health plan, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's really, I'm not sure are they self-funded or are they fully funded? So some of those things kind of play into the role of, if you're fully funded, then you can kind of implement those better into the plan, but with us being self-funded.
Correct. It
adds some challenges to it. I'm not saying it's not impossible, so we can definitely look at some of those things. But I think wellness is going to become more of a factor that we kind of look at more into the future, because we really haven't done that much from a wellness perspective. And preventive care is the most important thing if you really want to keep costs low, keep people healthy.
Do we have employees opting out of our insurance who have no insurance coverage?
I'm not sure. That's something I think we talked about in the insurance committee is doing a survey to find out why people are opting out and what we can do to address it.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
I've been in positions where if you didn't have insurance, you couldn't opt out of it, of your employee-based insurance.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Any other questions on insurance?
At that point, it seems like we're taking a risk, right? I mean, we're offering a service and we've hired an employee and we're taking a risk that that employee won't be able to do their job because they're not carrying insurance. It's available to them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they could be on their spouse's insurance.
Right, yeah.
think what he's saying is,
I-
do we
I-
do the due diligence to make sure that they are insured one way or the other?
Yeah,
It
'cause
doesn't matter.
I mean, if I wanna opt out of my current employer's insurance, I have to show that I have insurance through another carrier.
That was
I
mine
don't
too.
do any of that. I know you've got to report it when you fill out your taxes.
Yeah,
File your 1095.
yeah, that too. Okay.
All right, move on to superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you. I would like to start by giving an update on the Canal Winchester Schools goal planning process. Over the last few months, we've spent several hours looking at and analyzing the data from our Your Schools, Your Voice survey. We also have established subcommittees to dig in and develop the goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics for each of our 4 district priorities. Our plan will be to present that draft to you all at the May Board of Education meeting. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. I want to thank Craig Lautenschlager and Megan Anthony for all of their hard work on digging into the data, working with the team, working on the subcommittees to begin to develop those goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics for us, as well as Bill Whitlatch, who has spent some time over the last month digging in as well. So we're excited for the opportunity to bring that to us. We're excited for the opportunity to have district goals that we can use to focus in and really streamline the work that we are doing to ensure that, we're empowering all students for success. I would also, Ms. Barnes brought up the career fair. So just to share, we did have over 47 businesses participate in that fair. It was actually our largest number to date with participation of businesses. We want to thank Kristen Ankrum for organizing, and it is such a great opportunity for not only our students, but the businesses that do attend. I was able to walk through and talk to several of the vendors, and they were just so thankful that we had that and said that they enjoy talking to the kids enjoy talking to them, and they do see students, and they are able to talk with them and get them to consider working for them. So that's a positive. So thank you for bringing that up. And last but certainly not least, it is time for the monthly Knock Your Socks Off Awards. I would like to start off with Mr. Stephen Lemieux, who is the March recipient, one of 2. Stephen knocked my socks off with his implementation, not mine, I will say Miss Riddle's. Miss Brenna Riddle nominated Stephen, and Stephen knocked my socks off with his implementation of the student-led conferences here at Winchester Trail that go with our Leader in Me program. Stephen juggles being a brand new dad, a graduate student, and a 3rd grade teacher with professionalism and ease. Stephen made a positive impact on our staff and students. Being part of the student-led conferences was an experience that was so powerful. I am so grateful to have Stephen be a part of our 3rd grade family here at Winchester Trail Elementary School. So, Stephen, I'd like to give you your socks. You guys take them out there. And your certificate. All right, thank you. All right. And last but certainly not least, again, I've said that already once, but I'll go for it now for the actual person, is, you met him earlier today, Jay Battle. So Mr. Battle was nominated by Kim Shiplett. Kim says, Genesis is making our building a better place to work and learn. He takes support staff to a whole new level. It is difficult to determine if he supports us, the teachers, or the students more. Personally, he has been an extra set of hands for many labs, an ear for listening, and a resource for challenging students. It is obvious that he has formed many meaningful relationships with our students and can reach them in ways that a classroom teacher often cannot. He helps students work through their emotions while also holding them accountable and supporting the teachers. Our building is a much better place to work and learn because of Genesis. So congratulations, Genesis. This recognition program that we've had, I just want to mention it's been a huge success. Peers nominate their peers, and we have had each month we get an increasing number of nominations. We've actually talked about, do we expand it? The number of individuals that are being nominated, obviously, so many great things happening at the Canal Winchester schools and buildings, and we're excited to be able to just highlight a couple of them at each board meeting to share with not only you, but the community as well. So thank you.
Any questions for Kaya? No? All righty. So we're gonna move into the district reports. Does anybody have anything to highlight or speak of with the district reports? I have something I wanted to highlight, the mental health team. I kind of dove into there, hit a couple links, and then actually, Nick, if you could go down and hit that link. Yep, right in the middle. This was these are interesting numbers when I was looking at them, and so this is for high school students. 23% of our high school students fit into one of those three categories, which is either suicidal thoughts, depression signs, symptoms, or request to talk to a counselor. So we've got our students dealing with a lot, and you've got, again, 23% of our student body at the high school is running into some situations that are difficult.
Matt, before you go any further,
Yeah.
Can you tell the people that are listening, like this information, like where it's coming from? It's coming from a poll or a survey that went out to the students?
So I can help there.
Yeah,
so
please.
we do, I don't know if we want to call it a program, but it's called the Signs of Suicide. And it is in conjunction with Nationwide Children's Hospital. And our school counselors as well as our mental health counselors participate. And what it is they go through and they answer questions, not in person, but on I'm guessing a survey. And anything that would be red flagged then would lead us to need to have a conversation in more depth with them. So through that, a lot of this data with the signs of suicide data breakdown would be the suicidal thoughts or past attempt would come from that survey. The depressive signs, symptoms would come from that survey. And then the request to talk to a counselor would be from a student logging in and requesting to have a meeting with the counselor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
I already knew the answer, but I just want to make sure for the audience.
Thank you. No, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Clarify.
Yep.
And this is just the high school. I mean, I don't know what percentage of our middle school kids are dealing with this, and it's just I'm very thankful for the programs that we have in place and the folks that we've hired and the resources that we've given families and students. Based on this number, I'm very grateful that we continue to invest in this program and this department as it grows. So a very unnecessary, it's unfortunate that we have to continue to invest in it, but I'm very glad that we support that as a board and as a district. So I just wanted to bring that up. Anybody else have any? If not, we'll just move on to the consent agenda.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the area of academics, I know state testing is coming up, and I was just wondering if someone could address to our audience just different things staff, faculty are doing to help prepare our students.
Mr. Whitlatch, would you like to come up and speak on behalf of the buildings? Anybody else want to join and feel free?
All my friends are coming.
Right.
All right. Yes, spring assessment season for the 3 through high school reading, math, science, and social studies is fast approaching. We are 4.5 weeks out, I want to say. And actually the week after spring break begins our local window. And I want to say 2 buildings begin, I think that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday timeframe after spring break. And then the last building starts the following week. What's been going on in the buildings? Obviously, our state assessments follow the standards. And every 3 years, technically, all standards are supposed to be covered sometime during that exam. A resource that the state put out 2 years ago called the Restart Readiness resource. It is a series of short exams called checkpoints that we have, it's not mandated to do, but there's been traction gained over really last year and this year. Grades 3 through 8 have been using, and there are 10 question checkpoint exams that can be done in a class period. And it doesn't match perfectly of what they're teaching, but if you're working on fractions, they could give some fractions for 3rd grade. What's nice about this, it is scored by the system. So the kids log in, they take it, they get the results, the teachers will have the results on their portal within an hour. What has happened, we even have writing in that as an option, and they now have that as a total AI graded writing sample. And that, just shared that recently with the teachers, and they've been using it. Now they have, not that they haven't had questions, we were like, how in the world is this being graded? Now the computer's grading it. I was at a meeting and got some, as I always put in my emails, nuggets about how things are being graded. Basically, a continuous run-on sentence for a kid will be a 0. And this is a 10-point essay. Grades 6 through high school have 2 10-point essays. So what I gave was just some nuggets about how a kid can get, there's 3 sections here for that, one and 3 parts of a rubric, a 2-point score and 2 4 points. And the stuff I came away with, how can students get 1 point each? How can students get 1 to 2 points? And so I know I've met, Winchester Trail's given it, high school's given it. I met with some middle school teachers just last week, trying to understand why this kid got 6, why this kid has 4. And it really comes down to restating the question. At Winchester Trail, we had a 5th grader that got 0 points, but they changed the key term from smart, it was supposed to be important. And the first sentence was the word important. The kid, the student did a great job, but since they used the word smart, the answering the important part of the essay was not included throughout. So that was the 0. So, and I've told, meeting with administrators, meeting with teachers, we can't just give it and expect something to change. It's about our interaction with those students, and that is something that last year I've shared in many meetings at the high school. First year teacher put this into play and was very focused, and started this off with our academic support classrooms for kids who needed a score for graduation. The students, it's like, oh, I get it, because we give them scrap paper. Yes, this is a computer test. We give them scrap paper. Oh, I don't need that. I can just do it in my head. Okay, so it's just lessons learned as we go through this. So as basically what we're doing, I'm spending way too much time up here, but we're doing, the teachers are all using this as part of their practice. Some teachers have been using it all year. Some of them are just now getting into it. But the thing is, my biggest thing, if you're just now getting into it though, just don't give it. Have the conversation, give the feedback for the students. And what's nice about it, once it's graded, the teacher can log into their portal side, pull up the question and see what that percentage was for their classroom. It compares to the other kids across the state has taken it, and they can click on it and go through, read the question, and have the misunderstandings corrected right there for the whole class. So, and this is, not teaching to the test, this is teaching to the standards we're all responsible for.
Right, okay.
I hope that helps.
It does.
Right.
Thank you for the detail.
If you guys have 2 or 3 hours, just look up Mr. Whitlatch. Be happy to go through his entire day. It actually is amazing to hear everything behind. It's just a kid sitting in a classroom, but everything behind it is what everyone's trying to pull and calculate and standardize and use as a data point. So it's interesting. So. Okay, any other questions? If not, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Go, Kaya?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There you go.
All right, well, thank you. Oh, yeah, you can see. Oh, no, first, yeah, okay. All right, now we're here. I would
Threw
like to
everyone
start.
off. My apologies.
That's okay. I would like to go ahead and start with number 2 of minutes. We are asking you to approve the minutes from the February 13th regular meeting. Moving on to number 3, we do have 2 donations, one from Canal Chiropractic to the American Rocketry Club at the high school, and a second from our, I'm going to say his name wrong, Minard to CWHS Athletics. Moving on to number 4, we do have a letter of resignation for the purposes of retirement from Patrick Durbin, athletic director. Pat has served as an athletic director for the past 7 years in the district, and he will be retiring effective January 1st. We will be posting for that position soon, probably this week, and look to replace starting August 1st with the athletic director position. As many of you know, it is a position that's tough to fill, and we believe that if we were to wait further into the school year in November, it would be nearly impossible to find a replacement. So we will have that position posted, and Pat will be spending some time in this next fall, not only mentoring, assisting, transitioning the new individual into that role, but also working with the district on other opportunities that he has some strengths in. So we want to thank Pat for his 7 years of service in the district, which will be 7.5, officially 8 by retirement purposes come January 1. Moving on to number 5, certified personnel. We have several resignations for the end of the school year. And we have requests for leave of absences. And we have a stipend for Michael Stuckey for the department head grade level chair at the middle school. Number 6, classified personnel. We do have 2 resignations, one being Ben Feeney, custodian here at the Ed Center. The second, again, I just want to make a note, Denise Feeney, who has served in the district for 20 years this year, will be retiring effective January 1st, 2024. Similar to Mr. Durbin, we will need to put a transition plan in place. She is currently our payroll specialist, which is a super important job in the treasurer office. We hope that with her transitioning to the work, we can tap into some of her expertise. She was extremely influential in our transition into our new HR treasurer office software platform that we use. And she will definitely be missed in the district. And we just want to say thank you for her many years of service to the district, and we want to wish her the best as well. Moving on, then, under classified, we do have several requests for leave of absences, an extended unpaid medical leave request, and we have 3 classified recommendations: a parapro in our preschool, a lead custodian, and a bus driver. Number 7, our supplemental personnel. We do have 2 contracts to rescind, and we are asking you to approve a contract for Robert Dalton as assistant high school basketball coach. You'll notice we're rescinding his contract. There was an error, and so we're reapproving it now at this meeting for the correct amount. And then also we're asking you to approve David Locker for middle school faculty manager. Take 8. You want me to do it? Moving on to number 8 is our administrator salary schedule. We typically wait to approve the administrator salary schedule. It allows us to have some flexibility and look at where we are. And so we are asking you to approve the salary schedule for next school year, for the 23-24 school year. And there is a 2% increase on the base in that contract, as well as a level was added. So we went from 11 to 12. Just as a reminder for the classified and the certified schedules, those were through negotiations, and then back, I believe, 2 years ago, all were approved, but each of those would have been a 3% increase from this current school year to next, for comparison. And that is all I have for the consent agenda.
Dave, do you have questions? You good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Nick, you want to call roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes. Consent agenda passes 5-0. And we have one action item. And so I need a motion for action item number 1, the employment for administrative personnel.
So moved.
I'll go ahead and, all right, and we got Dave a second.
So we are making a motion for you to approve the employment of Brett Stewart as assistant principal at Indian Trail Elementary on a 2-year contract. Mr. Brett Stewart will we're asking you to approve him for the assistant principal position at Indian Trail Elementary School. Mr. Stewart currently is the assistant principal at Urbana Elementary School, where he supports 2 building principals by handling building-wide behavior, evaluating staff, and implementing aspects of the safety plan. Before becoming an assistant principal, Mr. Stewart taught for 9 years, first at a private school near Springfield, Ohio, and then at Reynoldsburg City Schools. Mr. Stewart will join Mrs. Leah Cobb on this Indian Trail administrative team. Mrs. Cobb and Mr. Stewart share a commitment to offering outstanding educational experiences to our youngest students and will provide strong leadership as Indian Trail prepares this school year to offer all-day kindergarten for all students beginning in the fall of 2024. There are exciting things ahead for Indian Trail Elementary, and this leadership team is well prepared to guide the school through the opportunities before them.
Any questions? Mr. Rogers?
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. And any other questions or information we need to speak about? Good, all right. We will be entering into executive session. Will not return to a public forum after the executive session, so there's no need to stay. Yes?
Before you go on, Mr. Stewart is here.
Oh,
great. So if you'd like to just stand up, you do not have to come and speak to the group, but you may. We always give the opportunity. So I apologize. I should
welcome. We didn't know you were
drop
here.
the ball on that one.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm very grateful to be here and, super grateful that I've been chosen for this role as the assistant principal at Indian Trail. And I'm really excited to work with the staff and all of the students, and I'm excited for the new school year. So thank you. I appreciate it.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
So we will not reconvene into an open session, so.
Okay.
I need a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Butler, Ms. Barnes. Nick?
Time you want to enter?
8:08.
808?
Yes.
Or Mr. Butler, sorry.
Hey, you good, go. Sorry, I got you.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion goes 5-0 into
You
executive
asked me,
session.
but I said yes.
Almost made it today.